Palapit na ang midterm ng pamahalang Aquino. Kamusta na ba ang estado ng Pilipinas? Anong direksyon ang tinatahak na natin ngayon? Tutukan ang mga kasagutan dito sa GOV at Work, ang pinakabagong programa sa telebisyon ng bayan. Ako po si Gio Tingson.
Ang GOV at Work ay ang taus-pusong paglapit sa iyo ng pamahalang Aquino gamit ang TV at social media. You may send us your feedback, comments, insights, or questions via our Facebook and Twitter accounts. Sa bawat episode, makakasama natin ng isang cabinet member para pag-usapan ng iba't ibang issue. In a short while, kilalanin natin ang una nating bisita. Ako naman si Aika Robredo.
Kaya huwag pong bibitiw, magbabalik agad ang GOV at Work.
Secretary Jose Rene Almendras, ang kasalukuyang Cabinet Secretary sa ilalim ng Office of the President. Prior to his appointment, nagsilbi siyang kalihim ng Department of Energy for almost 3 years. Bukod sa pagiging isang lingkod bayan, kinikilala siya bilang isang magaling na businessman. Sa loob ng mahabang panahon, pinamunuan niya ang ilan sa mga top corporations ng bansa. Isang magaling na pinuno, si Secretary Almendras, ang tumatayong isa sa mga kampyon ng tuwid na daan.
Welcome po muli sa inyong lahat at gaya ng napanood natin, joining us for the first episode po, Cabinet Secretary Jose Rene Almendras. Sir, magandang gabi po sa inyo.
Magandang gabi, Gio. Magandang gabi, Aika. At magandang gabi po sa lahat ng nanonood at nakikinig sa atin ngayong araw to.
Sir, unang tanong po, yung reaction niyo dun sa video na pinalabas namin kanina, ano pong masasabi niyo tungkol sa latest developments natin in terms of economy, foreign investments, tourism, and infra?
Sa totoo lang po, napakaraming magandang kwento. There's so many nice stories, so many successful stories all over the land, as a matter of fact, in the different government agencies that really show us that things have been working. You don't need to look very far. You don't need to look very hard to find good stories and nice, uplifting things about what's happened to the Philippines today.
And sir, yung latest news ng pag-upgrade sa Philippines to investment grade, ano po kaya yung epekto nito sa mga tao?
Alam mo, maraming nga nagtatanong, why are we so determined to get ourselves put into the investment grade? When was the last time that the Philippines was an investment destination, a real investment destination? And the lifting up of the investment grade status is an international acknowledgement. Hindi lang yan para sabihin sa mga Pilipino na gwapo tayo. Hindi po. That is an international organization saying na okay ang Pilipinas. Okay? At hindi Pilipino ang nagsabi niyan. Anong magagawa niyan? Okay? Of course, bababa yung interest rates or the cost to borrow. But beyond that, it's really, yan po yung maghuhudyat. It will be the signal to all the investors, all the people in the world who are looking for places to invest na tingnan niyo yung Pilipinas. Look at the Philippines. Have a really serious look at the Philippines as an investment destination. Why do we need investments? Because the more investments that come to our country, the more industrial and growth there can be in various industries. It hits back to job generation na naman. The more industries we build, the more tourists we bring in, the more investors that we come here, will redound to the fact that there will be more jobs for Filipino, which is really what this administration is all about.
Maraming salamat, Sec. Maiba naman tayo, no? Alam niyo, nakita po kayo sa almost on all issues in government. At di ba, Aika, maraming nagtatanong, sino ba daw si Secretary Almendras bago ang gobyerno?
Di ko rin siya kilala. Sino ba si Secretary Almendras bago ang gobyerno? He was a very happy, satisfied, enjoying person. I'm not complaining. I guess life before government was much more private, very quiet. It was not, you rarely get into controversies. It was very good for the physical self, especially the heart. And blood pressure was a lot lower.
Pero parang sinasabi nila, you were very successful in the private sector. At ito po yung mga talagang ginagawa. As we showed it kanina in the video, what's that success that you brought into government?
No, I don't want to claim bringing success to government. No, it's not that. I'd like to think that a lot of the things that I learned when I was in private sector have become very useful in the role that we have now. Your technical skills, your administrative skills, your leadership practices that get you to drive a 2,000 plus organization or a big organization, motivate people to get things done, make sure that your organization is seamless and integrated. These things are true whether you're in the private sector or you're in government. But it becomes a bit more challenging in government. Why? Because government by design, by the laws that created some of the functions, is very siloed. There are very clear silos, turf and all that. And yet you know that to make things work better, you really need to break down silos. You need to get this office to work better with this office and think more together rather than think one, think the other, and then try to reconcile the two. In the same breath, I would say that having joined government, I've learned so many new things. I really look forward to going back to the private sector. I hope sooner than later. And I'm excited that when I do go back to the private sector, I will bring with me also the experience of, now I see how it is pala on the other side. When I was in the private sector, it was very easy for me to complain. Bet ganito, bet ganon. Ang bagal naman ng gobyerno. Bakit, why do they take so long to do this? Now that I had a chance to work in government, I can rightfully say, okay, now I understand why government will behave in a certain way.
So sir, from the private sector and then energy secretary and now cabinet secretary to the president. Ano po yung pinaka role ng cabinet secretary to the president? I think marami yung gusto linawin kung ano yung pinaka function niya. Kasi yung iba medyo straightforward eh. When you say energy secretary, it's focused on energy.
Okay,
And then,
first of all, the cabinet secretary is not as important as the other secretaries. Okay, all the other secretaries have a specific portfolio, and they really need to focus on those portfolios. Minsan kasi, like when I was in the Department of Energy, you are, whether you like it or not, you are absorbed, you are sucked by the portfolio you carry. In other words, as the Energy Secretary, when I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do is price of fuel, brownout, and so you really get pulled into the portfolio that you carry. But because of the very broad, the breadth of the responsibility as a secretary is so wide, you need to choose the battles because you only have basically 24 hours in a day. And so there are roles that you need to take on greater than others. So what does that translate to? Sometimes initiatives, projects that have to do with more than one agency. Minsan the coordination can be improved on. Minsan the pushing can be improved on. Why? Because you have 3 secretaries in charge of an initiative, but each of them is also holding on to the problems of their own portfolios. They need to prioritize. So that's when the Office of the Cabinet Secretary comes in, which is when it becomes a multi-agency initiative, when it comes to be a project that involves more than one agency, and somebody has to do the pushing, then that's when the Cabinet Secretary comes in. So, contrary to rumors that it's a very powerful and it's a very influential position or it's a very important position, no. I will categorically tell you that my role is not as important as the role of the cabinet secretaries who are holding on to a portfolio.
Some issues, ayon po sa online sentiment, ang Saba incident at ang job generation, ang dalawa daw po sa pinakamainit na issue sa mga Pilipino. Briefly, sir, anong take po ng gobyerno ukol dito? Let's start with Saba.
Okay, Saba muna. Komplikasyon yung sitwasyon. Okay. Number 1, yung tanong. Una, sinabi that the government was not attending to them. We've already proven hindi totoo yun. Governor Hataman has been interviewed in many TV stations and all that, saying, How can you say that, di ba? Nag-meeting tayo sa Serenda. I mean, there were meetings literally every other day from day 2 of the incident. Yung tanong, why did government not go all out to support the Sultan? Who said we were not supporting the Sultan? It's just that there are certain things that you don't say because of certain complications, di ba? The number one instruction was, ayaw natin ng kaharasan, ayaw natin ng violence. And there is, 500,000, 800,000 Filipinos in Sabah that we were very worried about. So, all the actions of government were about protecting the interest of the greater majority of Filipinos. Not just the not even 200, between 100 to 200 people who went there and declared themselves armed and intruded into the sovereignty of that country. It's not just them. It was hundreds of thousands of Filipinos whose lives we were worried will be affected, and now it's happening. Second point on Sabah. Did we renounce the claim? I don't think so. And there are legal and international processes that give you the opportunity how to do it. At first, they said, wag kayo makialam. This is between the Sultanate and Malaysia. We behaved according to the first mandate. We helped deliver the letter. We delivered the letter to the embassy. And then they said, you only talk to these people? We were talking only to these people. It will clearly say na hindi po natulog ang gobyerno on this thing. And it's not that we did not act. As a matter of fact, there was so much action. The President was calling Saturday and Sunday meetings in Bahay Pangarap just to work on these issues. Job generation. Why is job generation such an issue? The reports just came out from DOLE. I read it about a few days ago. The jobs in the manufacturing, in the service sector, in the major urban centers have been growing. All you need to do is look around. I mean, you can barely find available office space already in some of the key business locations. Our problem here is we've been losing jobs on the rural and agricultural side to a high extent. For example, I'm volunteered to head Task Force Pablo. I can rightfully tell you now, a few 100,000 Filipinos lost their jobs because of Typhoon Pablo. When we lost all of the banana plantations, that's thousands and thousands of jobs. Are we doing something about it? Yes, we are doing something about it. That's why the task force Pablo is divided into several subcommittees. One of them is livelihood. Okay, there's infra, there's social services, there's relocation and rehab and livelihood, because we really sinasalo po natin sila. That's why we have Cash for Work program. The SWD has rolled all of this out because, admittedly, climate change, disasters, and even agricultural situations have affected job generation in the rural areas.
Pagbalik po namin, mas marami pa tayong malalaman tungkol kay Secretary Almendras dito sa GOV at Work. Wag po kayong aalis.
And you're still watching Gov at Work. Kasama po natin si Secretary Almendras. At dito po, bigyan natin ng pagkakataon naman na magtanong ang ating mga kababayan mula po sa pinaka-popular na internet application na meron tayo ngayon, ang Google Hangout. Briefly, pag tinignan natin yung Google Hangout, pwede ka makipag-usap live online kasama ang 2 hanggang 10 tao. At mula pa ito sa iba't ibang lokasyon, kaya pag nakilala natin, makausap natin yung ating mga kasama, okay rin yung mga tanong nila. So for the first time, gagamitin po ito ng pangpanguluhan para maabot ang mga mamamayan. So joining us for our Gov at Work Hangout, tawagin na po natin ang UP student, si Remo Fugnit. Remo? Ayan, kasama rin po natin si Teacher Rowena Eugenio Hautea. Hello, ayan. At ang isa po sa mga housewife na mga kasama rin natin yan, si Laura Abardo. Rowena, kamusta po?
Mabuti naman po, sir.
Ayan,
Warm greetings po from Brunei Darussalam.
Si Gio actually, si Ma'am Rowena ay siya, isa siyang Filipino teacher at optometrist na nagtatrabaho sa
Wow.
Brunei for 21 years. So siya rin ang Vice President ng Brunei Filipino Educators Club at Secretary ng nag-iisang Filipino Association in Brunei.
Mabuhay ka, Ma'am Rowena. Kasama natin ngayon si Secretary Almendras.
I have been working in Brunei for 21 years now. And I am privileged to be working closely with the Philippine Embassy as a volunteer to some of their programs. And with my collaboration with them, I have become aware of how strongly determined our government is to promote the welfare and protect the rights of more than 9 million OFWs. Sir, what is the Philippine government doing to ensure that all Filipinos working abroad are well protected as mandated by the Migrant Workers of Overseas Filipinos Act of 1995?
First of all, Rowena, maraming salamat and I congratulate you. You are one of those heroes that we're so proud of. Salam alaikum to everybody. Your question, maganda yung tanong mo, no? Na ano bang ginagawa ng gobyerno ngayon? First of all, nung bago po yung administrasyon ni President Aquino, naalala niyo po kung anong nangyari. Nagsimula sa Egypt, umabot sa Libya. And one of the things po na natutunan natin in the experience of trying to address those crises was, minsan hindi natin alam kung how many Filipinos at sino yung mga Pilipino who are actually out there. Because we also have the problem of the undocumented, unknown Filipinos there. So, one of the first things that was ordered by the President, and actually is still ongoing now, is to find a way to harmonize these records between the Bureau of between Immigration, OWA, DOLE, and all the other agencies that have any interaction with Filipinos going abroad to work. We're consolidating them into a single database. Baga, sinasabi natin, single source of truth kasi step one, kung hindi man lang natin alam na nandyan sila sa isang lugar, how can we address them? How can we minister to them? How can we help them? Second, also during the time that we learned that we had to deal with the Egypt, the Syria, the Libya crisis, and eventually Syria, is the need to organize Filipinos who are located abroad. And I'm so happy to hear that you are one of those volunteers that have been tapped by the embassy there. My regards to our ambassador and to his wife there. I've come to know them well, no? And I know they've really tried to reach out. Also, kung napansin niyo po, there have been, sorry to use the word, there have been arguments between our government and some foreign governments. There was even a particular situation po na sinabi ng ating DOLE na bawal muna magpadala ng mga Filipinos into this country. Bakit po? Kasi ginagawa po ng ating labor agencies is we are demanding for certain basic rights for workers, Filipino workers that go abroad. And if the host government is not willing to guarantee these basic rights, then tayo po, unpopular a decision as it may be, sinasabi, abay, wag muna kayong magpunta dito kasi malabo tong lugar na to. Grabe ho yung batikos na nakuha natin ng labor agencies natin, ng Department of Labor, nung biglang naglabas ng listahan na ito pwede puntahan, ito hindi pwede puntahan. Pero hindi naman po yun basta-bastang ginawa. Talagang pinag-aralan na merong mga lugar na safe at mabuti sa mga Filipino workers doon. Meron namang ibang mga lugar na hindi ganun ka friendly or hindi ganun ka accommodating.
Maraming salamat, Sec. Maraming salamat din, Teacher Rowena. Puntahan natin ang next question.
Si Ginang
Yes, ma'am.
Laura Bardo.
Yes? Ginang Laura?
Hello po, good evening. Magandang gabi po.
Good evening, ma'am.
Agad-agapi po, Ginang Laura.
Good evening po, Secretary Almendras.
Si Ginang Laura ay recipient ng Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino Program for 4 months. So, ma'am, pwede na po kayong magtanong kay Secretary din eh.
Ito po yung tanong ko, sir. Lagi pong nasa balita na lumalago ang ating ekonomiya. Naniniwala po kami dito. Ngunit kailan at paano po namin mararamdaman ang mga mahihirap ang benepisyo ng paglago ng ating ekonomiya po.
Alam niyo po, meron po kaming ginagawa ngayon. Actually, as early as November po kasi medyo gumaganda na po yung takbo ng ekonomiya natin last year. No? Sa 4Ps kayo ngayon, di ba? Ang sabi natin, yung 5.5 million of the poorest Filipinos sasaluin muna natin. Pero hindi na ho yan hindi naman ho natin sinasabi na hanggang perpetual yung sitwasyon po ninyo. We're also saying that this is really just transition po, no. Ang maganda po pag gumaganda ang ekonomiya, dumadami po ang trabaho. Now, hindi naman po yun instant na the minute kunyari yung ratings upgrading natin sa FITCH po na 2 weeks ago binigay. Hindi ibig sabihin na dahil na-upgrade na tayo, immediately everybody feels the benefit of it. Meron hong gestation period, meron hong panahon na kailangan bago umabot doon. Bakit ho tayo merong 4Ps, diba? Sabi natin, yung sektor ng komunidad na talagang hirap na hirap. Pagising sa umaga, wala silang panahon mag-isip na maghanap kaya ako ng trabaho today or pag-aralin ko yung anak ko para makahanap ng trabaho. Pagising pa lang sa umaga, ang sinasabi niya, anong kakainin namin today? Okay, so yung attention, yung resources is focused on that. Dahil sasaluhin natin using the conditional cash transfer, the 4Ps program. At now they have that opportunity to think beyond the immediate needs for the day. Diba? Ngayon, kagaya ni Ginang Laura, nakakatanggap na siya ngayon. Ngayon ho, di ba, Ginang Laura, may panahon na ho kayong mag-isip pa kung ano pang ibang pwede kong gawin to generate revenue, ano pang activities na pwede namin gawin. Kasi samantala, nung hindi pa ho kayo kasama sa 4Ps, ang parati niyong iniisip, saan ko kukunin yung kailangan ko for today? So that's what we call the tide over.
At ngayon naman, balikan natin si Remo mula sa University of the Philippines. Remo, ang katanungan mo kay Secretary Almendras?
Salamat po, Sir Gio. Ito po yung tanong ko, Mr. Secretary. Sa dami po ng mga nag-graduate po kayo ng mga college, ano po yung mga programa ng gobyerno para po ma-ensure na may trabaho po sila at wala rin pong job mismatch or brain drain na nangyayari. Dahil alam din po natin na marami pong nangingibang bansa ng mga college students po.
Alam mo, tama ka eh. Meron hong website di ba, yung Department of Labor natin where we do job matching. Yung mga naghahanap ng empleyado, they post. Yung mga naghahanap ng trabaho, they post. And palaki ng palaki yung number of jobs na hindi na-fulfill. Anong ibig sabihin nun? May mga kumpanya na may mga hinahanap na skill set which is not available in the market. Okay. Pasensya na po tayo kasi medyo may parang fashion yung job selection process. Merong fashionable jobs at certain time. Once upon a time po, lahat ng tao gusto maging nurse. Once upon a time, lahat ng tao gusto maging IT and so forth. So, ang ginagawa po natin ngayon is exactly what you're asking for, yung job matching. What we're trying to do is, kinakausap natin yung industriya through DTI, through the other agencies, saying, eto yung mga companies that are growing. Eto yung mga opportunities that are available. And then you look at your graduates coming out. And clearly po, they do not match. There is a skill mismatch. There's also a locational mismatch. Ang proof po ng locational mismatch, bakit yung mga BPOs, yung mga call centers, kung saan-saang sulok na ho ng bansa sila pumupunta. Dahil they realize that there are pockets of expertise in certain locations na magandang puntahan. Ang ginagawa po natin, it starts even from the very basic level. Bakit po tayo nag-K+12? Diba? Ang dami hong argumento na nangyari. Kasi, kailangan natin tanggapin just like other countries abroad, na hindi lahat ng tao pang-college. Okay? So kaya dinagdagan mo yung basic education so that by the time they finish high school, they are already employable. Meron na silang mga trabaho na pwedeng gawin. Now let's bring in TESDA. Kasi maganda rin ipag-usapan yung TESDA. Sabi, why is TESDA? Bakit in the last SONA, the President mentioned TESDA? Because TESDA naman is your intervention for skill-specific requirements. Why are we pushing tourism? Because tourism has the biggest job translation. For every tourist you have the chambermaid, check-in clerk, pati tricycle driver benefits from tourism. And the nice thing about tourism is it's also a way to decongest your industries.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Salamat din sa ating mga naka-Google Hangout. Magbabalik po ulit ang GOV at Work.
Ito po ang GOV at Work at kasama pa rin po natin si Secretary Jose Rene Almendras. Ngayon naman, we'll be joined, Aika, by two members of the Malacanang Press Corps. At para unang magtanong, tawagin na natin si AUREA, CALICA mula sa Philippine Star.
Magandang gabi, Secretary.
Magandang gabi, Ao.
Sir, you're tasked to oversee ang mga different departments and agencies. And last year, natatandaan ko po, may nabanggit si Presidente na meron daw isang agency na maaring masorpresa dahil ayaw makinig sa mga warning niya na magreforma. What is the development now? Meron po bang agencies or departments na kailangan talaga ng major overhaul at this time?
I think yung midterm na kasi, di ba? 3 years na din. Alam nyo, one of the things na the President always is very cognizant of is there's only 3 years left. Okay, so and he made it very clear this year na we want to move faster, we want to move better. So I would not want to say that there's one particular agency that's working on it. I'm not familiar, baka naman merong naisip ang Presidente na agency na in particular, but he hasn't told me about it. So what we're doing sa Cabinet Secretary is we're trying to coordinate all meron hong things called transformation projects. Diba? In addition to producing, for example, in addition to producing 10 million tourists for DOT, the next question is, ano bang ginagawa niyo within the way the agency is being run to improve the service delivery? Kaya nga itong task force ng AO25, harmonizing the reportorial and all of this are all part of it. I would also not say that there are no agencies that need critical attention. Meron din talagang agencies that seem to be lagging behind, even in basic service delivery. And we are grateful to media, and I don't mean this in a cynical way, because it's media that helps identify some of these things that need attention.
So, pero ang isang nasa balita ngayon yung Bureau of Immigration because of the incident wherein yung isa pong Korean ay nakalabas ng bansa.
The Bureau of Immigration has a few challenges, okay? Pag-usapan natin some of the things that they did. Naalala mo before we had problems with incoming tourists and visitors. So ginawa is additional headcount was approved for BID to hire new immigration officers. And we have younger, kung pumunta kayo sa mga airport natin ngayon, you will see younger immigration officers. I'm not saying the old ones are not good, but it's really about making sure that there's a regular churn. Then there was a documentation problem also that they were working on. They're working on acquiring new technology, new services, new computers. I saw the request for additional CAPEX requirements for that. Now, this particular situation is yes, it's very different. Okay, it's about paano nakaalis. If your immigration officers had a record on a computer in front of them that said, these people are not supposed to be leaving, or there's a way to verify the passport or the visa issuances, that would have been at it. I would believe that yes, the President has called for immediate action in the sense na dapat hindi mangyari uli. Parating yung naririnig sa Presidente yan, di ba, na so nangyari na to, ano mang mangyayari ba to uli? Dapat hindi na mangyari ito uli. Dapat we should try our very best to make sure na kung ano man yung lapses that have happened, let's make sure it doesn't happen again.
No, pero sinasabi ni Secretary Abad kanina na narinig ko po siya sa isang interview na kailangan talaga ng automation and interoperability with other agencies and departments ng BI. How are you going to
We have this
fast-track
task
that?
force called CIQ, Customs, Immigration, Quarantine. What we're trying to do now is we're harmonizing the interaction of CIQ. Na dapat, kasi ang nangyayari, iba yung nagpapatabo ng airport. Kasi meron kang MIA, administrator. Tapos, iba yung may hawak nito, iba. So, kung gano'n ang sitwasyon, tendency is talagang hindi harmonious, hindi well integrated yung activity. So, itong isang task force that is with me, that I'm working on, yung CIQ. Originally nga pala, this task force was formed purposely to help us open more international airports. Dahil sabi ni Sec Mon Jimenez ng DOT, mahihirapan ako, kasi 5.5 million tourists for next year. Mahihirapan ako because may nag-iimbudo sa NAIA. Maraming turistang gustong pumunta pero kulang sa flights dahil naiipit dito. So we need to open more gateways, more opportunities. Doon nagsimula yung task force na yon. But when we started the discussion, we realized na hindi nga pwedeng kanya-kanya. Dapat integrated yung approach. Dapat yung computer ni immigration kayang makipag-usap sa computer ni DFA para ma-verify yung passport ng outgoing at ma-verify rin yung records ng DOJ on the orders and all that. So yes, tama ho yung I fully agree with Secretary Abad that now we're expanding and saying, no, we have got to make all of these people in charge of controlling our boundaries to work better. And technology, masaya po ako na sinabi ni Sec Abad yun para pag humingi po kami ng budget, medyo hindi po kami mahihirapan.
Mula naman po sa Philippine Daily Inquirer, andito si Michael Lima. Sir.
Thank you. Secretary, congratulations muna sa FITCH upgrade. No? This is the first time, I think, mula nang ipanganak ako, na nagkaroon tayo ng ganong klaseng sovereign guarantee upgrade.
So that only means the past 20 years lang.
And maybe my question is, what brought about this kind of an atmosphere? What are the new policies and reforms that have been put in place since 2010?
You know, when you're a rating agency, you don't look at knee-jerk or you don't look at a particular point. What you'd like to see is a history of correct actions. In other words, hindi pwedeng dahil sa isang bagay na to, I will give you this rating. That's not how rating agencies work. What a rating agency would like to see is a series of events or actions over an extended period of time so that they can say na hindi lang tama ang ginawa nila dito, but they have been doing a series of correct things consistently. Kasi siyempre, pwede namang may gawin ka ngayon and then tomorrow baliktarin mo. And then the agency will have to reverse their decision. So, hindi to one particular but a series of correct actions. Now, sequence yun. Ito naman yung breadth of action. Your central bank can make this correct monetary policy.
Okay.
But your treasury or your Department of Finance may not be very good in fiscal prudence, or your DBM naman is not as strong in certain things. I would like to congratulate everyone in the Philippines, including the Filipino people, because the Fitch rating is not because of one person. It is because of everyone who started doing things properly, correctly, showing the rest of the world na kami dito sa Pilipinas, we want to do it correctly, we want to do it properly. That's why you need to now tell the rest of the world na we should really seriously consider investing in the Philippines.
What change in the landscape that this upgrade will do to us, especially into expediting yung infra spending natin, and maybe defeating poverty, yung overarching goal to defeat poverty?
I think what the agencies have seen was that we walk the talk. You know, early 2011, late 2010, most of 2011, I was still part of the Eco Cluster at that time. A lot of us were traveling the world. Diba? Secretary Purisima, Secretary Domingo, at that time Secretary Paderanga. We were traveling all over the world. We were sitting in forums or fora. I remember a particular discussion I think it was in Hong Kong. And we were there interacting with potential investors. They can ask any question. I was asked questions like, oh, you're trying to encourage power generating plants, pero pagdating doon, yung local government nyo, biglang out of the blue, idodoblehin yung real estate taxes. Paano kami, things like that. So we were answering that. And yes, siyempre, kung para kang nanliligaw ng babae, salita ka ng salita, but eventually, the question is, will you do what you said? So I think we manage, and that's why even if we said the right thing, ratings agency will not immediately give you investment grade. They will step back and say, okay, you said that. Now we will observe whether you will really do what you said. My personal opinion is, I'm hoping that the other agencies will follow through. And when that happens, then this is the tipping point. There will be no more question on whether the Philippines is a good place to invest in. Therefore, we don't have to go beg, knock on doors and say, baka naman ho gusto niyong tingnan yung Pilipinas. Please consider us as part of your investment scenario po.
Once again, the issue of smuggling has come to the fore. And this has bedeviled the country for so long. Imagine 30 to 40 billion in losses, potential revenues. And imagine how many bridges, schools, classroom, medicines, and scholarship. These revenues could have made funded or made an impact in to defeat poverty, and to fund all these projects. So, do you see? Don't you think it's about time to revamp to be blunt about it, the BOC?
A major overhaul is even harder to do. But if you have a specific, there are two ways to do changes, di ba? Either yung revamp na change everything one blow, or yung sinasabi nating surgical precision. Okay, bakit mo papalitan yung buong utak o yung buong katawan ng tao kung yung problema yung isang kamay lang? So go solve one portion of that problem. Now personally, my view is that calibration has to be done by DOF, by the Bureau, by the Commissioner themselves on what to. Na-highlight to because, sa totoo lang, because of the statement of one of the oil companies that hit the front page. Diba? And this is only one. Yes, you need attention, you need changes. I am not just sure kung a total revamp is needed.
With 30 to 40 billion in losses, it's around 120 billion, about a tenth of our national budget lost to bribery and corruption. Would it be prudent for the Secretary of, the Commissioner of the Customs to resign and spare the President from further embarrassment?
Let me put it this way. There are very few people who actually applied for a job in government. No, I mean, actually sometimes I think not very reasonable to want to be in certain roles. If you ask me right now, do I want to be the Commissioner of the Bureau of Customs, I will tell you flat out, no way.
No way.
Diba? So I do not want to judge a person's performance based on an external view. What I've learned in government is marami hong complications. So,
Ano ba doon? May problema ba kayo doon na people always want heads to roll kapag ka merong issue?
no, I have no problem with that. As a matter of fact, I'm willing, if there was any incentive to become Commissioner of the Bureau of Customs, if you can guarantee me that I will be fired out of government immediately, I'll take the job. But the point is na mahirap yung, wag naman sana tayo yung knee-jerk reaction. Yung sana, you need, kailan isipin. Just because may konting problema, ito lamesan to, because may konting problema dito, sunugin na natin yung buong lamesa. Minsan hindi ganun na solusyon. At saka, services to. Government has to provide service. Come Monday morning, that office has to open at 8 o'clock, has to process import permits, has to process all that thing. If you're gonna suddenly take that thing apart and board it, are you gonna tell people, sandali lang wala muna tayong inbound or outbound for 3 weeks habang magre-reorganize tayo. Again, ang punto ko lang is, I would not take that, we need to give the commissioner, we need to give the people there a chance to sort these things through.
Sometimes, ang perception kasi, parang presidente laging mag-act.
Yeah.
Why parang walang culture sa gobyerno na pag medyo alam mong you failed to meet expectations, on your own you would wanna spare the president. Bakit walang ganong kultura sa gobyerno?
I cannot answer on that point, on bakit hindi. I think, and it's not just in government, even in private sector, you will not have a manager stand up and say, boss, ako may kasalanan nito lahat, tanggalin mo na ako, di ba? I mean, most probably, pag may gumawa nun, I will not fire him. I will keep him. I will find another job for him because at least he's one who is willing to stand up.
Yeah.
I think na meron kasing, pasensya na po, gamitin ko lang yung word na putok. Diba? There's an issue, it blows up. What worries me is the reaction of people. Di, kailangan may mawala ng
Lasting
trabaho,
for life.
kailangan sunugin, kailangan black eye to the president. Do you realize how difficult it is to be the president of the, you're running 1.6 million, a bureaucracy of 1.6 million people is no joke. So, I'm not defending the president. All I'm saying is, meron hong mga, mabigat, may mga posisyon ho na mabigat, may mga problema na mabigat. At
But someone should take a blame for that.
Yes, I fully agree. And we must all be accountable. And it's not just accountable to the president, di ba? Since nandun na tayo sa sinasabi mong accountability actually, I think the attitude should be accountable to the people. Hindi ako magre-resign dahil nagalit ang presidente sa akin. Magre-resign ako kasi I did not do what the people of the Philippines expected me to do. Wala akong pinapakinggan. And I'm not saying this in particular reference to what you mentioned. You're just saying na bakit ganon yung kultura. Ang kultura should be na we are accountable to the people we serve. That's what we're trying to do in AO25. That's what we're trying to do in the PBB. That's the scorecard we're trying to create na you will now be rated by the customers that you are serving.
Maraming salamat, Michael at AUREA. Challenging talaga ang tanong ng Malacanang Press Corps. Sa pagbabalik po natin sa Gov at Work, ang mas personal na buhay naman ni Secretary
Uwi na
Almendras
tayo.
ang ating aalamin. Andito pa rin po tayo sa Gov at Work and we're still joined by Cabinet Secretary Serene Almendras. Puntahan naman natin ang mas personal at lighter side niya, no, Aika. Tanungin natin si Sir, Sir, ano ba yung top 3 songs sa playlist mo?
Okay. Pag tinitingnan ko yung most played songs, di ba, sa
iPad.
mahaba yung listahan kasi my choice of music shifts according to the moods or according to the situation. The top 3 songs today is nagbibiroan kami ng Pangulo minsan na when the going gets tough, the best kind of music to listen to is Jesuit music, ministry music. Okay?
Sila Father Manoling.
Ano ni Father Manoling. Hindi kasi nag-retreat ako nung Holy Week eh. There's this, and I was in the Triduum Mass Jesuit. There's this beautiful song that they only sing once a year. And the title of the song is Pieta. The title of the song is Pieta. This is a song about Mama Mary being at the foot of the cross. Uyayin ni Mama Mary. It's a very beautiful song. So that I've been listening to it a lot because it kind of reminds you a lot of yung looking for beauty in such a desperate situation. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying the situation of the Philippines is desperate. Maybe it's my situation that's very desperate. But that's one of them. The other one I've really been listening to is an instrumental mix for a chill out music done by a Filipinos now in the US. It's a nice kind of song that gets you going in the morning when you want to get up. After the third one, I can't think of a third one right now. I listen to all types of music.
Genres.
Sir, next question. Sa dami ng trabaho sa opisina, ano naman yung comfort food nyo?
Ano ang comfort?
Comfort food.
All of the above.
Kasi pag sobrang stress ka, ano yung unang pinapabili mo, unang ino-order mo?
Ang sabi ng Pangulo, basta may dessert, masaya na ako. Okay? No, all of the above, I think.
O sige sir, ito naman, ngayon na uso ang mga pick-up line. Kung liligawan niyo ulit ang inyong misis, ano pong pick-up line ang gagamitin ninyo?
Gusto mo magmerienda? Pagkain pa rin, ano?
Siyempre, the way to a woman's heart, ba ngayon?
No, I think, kidding aside, one of the things we're trying to do in government is matching people to the right roles, diba? And passion it's all about passion. Mm-hmm. When a person is passionate about what he's doing, he will do it well. So, and in government, there are a lot of people with very good skills, with very, very good capabilities, and yet their passion is on something else. How nice it would be if you can match the role to the passion, because that makes it very productive. Now, why am I talking about passion? Because whenever I start talking about passion, people ask, describe, ano ba yung passion na yan? Sabi ko, passion is yung, ako, ako passionate ako sa pagkain eh. Pag kumakain ako, talaga gusto kong nilalasap ko yung pagkain, di ba? So, yes, I guess in the context of what it is, you know, it's really along those lines na, yes, working in government is hard and you need to find things. You need things to keep you going and you need sugar to keep the blood flowing and something like that.
Sir, agree ako doon.
Not that there isn't a boring day in government. You solve one problem, something else comes up somewhere.
Sir, actually marami pa kaming gustong itanong pero ubos na yung oras. Siguro we would just ask you for a closing message to all those who are watching us now.
One thing I learned in government is no matter how well the job is done, there will always be people who criticize. And I've often asked myself, bakit ba? And I've actually had a very interesting discussion in a group of people. I spoke in a graduation recently, and I was trying to ask, what is my message to these graduates? And I said, it's about love of country. I think that if there is a fair assessment, it's the need for us to learn to love our country more. Maybe we did not suffer as much as some of the other countries have had to suffer, which has ingrained that love for country. Our revolution was a peaceful one. You look at the countries where there's real strong love of country, and they seem to really move well. That's I guess something that I would dream of seeing someday be in a better situation. I would like to say, general as it may be, that great things are happening to our country today. Great opportunities are coming our way. And it's not just this term. The next term, the next president's term, if this term is almost like preparatory lang for that next term, 2015, demographic sweet spot begins. More Filipinos will be at the right age, right disposition to be in a productive phase. The countries that were able to maximize their demographic sweet spot, just 2-3 decades of continuous progress, and it can happen in the Philippines. Okay, if you don't believe me, look around you. It's already happening. The rest of the world is telling us. The foreigners are telling us that you guys are in a really good position. What we need to do is seize the moment, take advantage of this good position that we are in right now, do it well, grab it, and take it beyond, so that that good news is not just until 2016 or the next 10 years, but you can even take these 2-3 decades of continuous growth if we do it right. And you can never tell what will be in the future, but if you have a good posture today, the challenge is you need to be guided and you need to have that core thing for the future. And lack of any expertise, my perspective is, let's love our country more. And if we have to decide on something, it should be, come the elections, I should decide, tama ba tong kandidato nito? Will this person do good for the country? Hindi dahil kamag-anak ko siya, or kaskwela ko siya, or kaklase ko siya, or gwapo siya, or artista siya, or what. Let's love our country some more. I mean, the opportunity is here. We're ready for it. It's now our turn to seize it and take it on.
Maraming salamat po, Sec. It's really been an honor for us that we had you for the first episode of GOV at Work. Naway magkaroon pa po ng maraming tagumpay sa inyo sa inyong posisyon as Cabinet Secretary. Maraming salamat po.
We would like to thank the Office of the Cabinet Secretary, Presidential Communications Operations Office, Philippine Embassy in Brunei Darussalam, Malacanang Press Corps, Presidential Museum and Library, participants sa GOV at Work Hangout, People's Television Network, Intercontinental Broadcasting Corporation, at Radio Television Malacanang for our initial episode.
Abangan nyo ang susunod pa naming mga episodes para sa talakayan kasama naman ang ibang mga cabinet secretaries. You may send us your feedback, comments, insights o mga tanong via our Facebook and Twitter accounts. Or pwede kayong mag-hangout via GOV at Work sa Google. Sa ngalan ni Aiko Robredo, ako po si Gio Tingson at ito ang GOV at Work.